Blue squad, they get a little bit more of a safety net if that's ever to be the case, if they're going to be able to in this round. A lot of all these teams are traversing over onto the far eastern corner, and that's going to be BTR looking for a little bit of stretch over onto the outskirts. And looking into farm, I think that without the presence of CD Alliance, then farm is absolutely available for BTR if they want to take it.
Ooh, yeah, you're right. Without Cellcom DG Alliance, a team could take that. Boy Donkey is actually heading towards the farm area, so maybe they might be the one to lock that in. Are we gonna get a 50-50 circle between the north and also the main peninsula? Or could be a Rozhok finish again? Or maybe a potential Rozhok-ish circle. Let's see there. If it goes there, then Boom eSports will be the happier one of them all, since Rozhok is the regular drop spot anyway.
That's true, and overall, it's going to be a very standard start without all too much of a casualty. We're looking into Pachinki. We always have the rest of the Savior to be holding on to this stronghold. Well, the rest.
So let's see if this VAS will bring him dividends here, as this is his one and only weapon now.
Well, I think like it is actually pretty solid if you were to go on for an initiation, because it was already equipped with, you know, a 4x scope, is also suppressed at the very same time. The only drawback is that there's only like 12 bullets on the VSS, so you gotta be very, very careful with that DMR. Well, it's one of the weirdest DMRs, right, if you think about it, because it kind of sprays like an AR, so to speak. So they could actually put that to really good use. But looking at the rest of Vampire eSports, they're not really well equipped to actually take on a fight, which is why you're looking at them pretty much scattered across the field. Rarely do we actually see DRS actually going for this kind of early challenges, but I definitely would want to see what happens from here on, because I voted for Vampires, and it'll be really sad for me to see them go first.
True. That's a good point. That's a good point. So let's see Vampire, how will they manage this? And so far, they're not really interested in taking this early engagement, but they might be forced to, because if you look at the positioning of DRS, they're on the northern side of the city, and they seem to be gatekeeping them from rotating out. And they have to rotate out because they're about 1,700 meters away from the circle. So the Vampire eSports might be forced into this fight. Now, whether they win it or not is going to be a second question.
True enough. I mean, it is going to be down to all the slightest margins. Whoever spots who first. Yante already equipped with 8x on the Mini 14. So he gets to see every single pixel, while Chama got himself a little bit of a horse just to secure the outskirts. And DRS is starting to get pressurized as Killer YT will be hurled with a grenade, as Tony K is going to force this push.
And here's Tony K on the lower ground. Killer YT is there. But he not only has Tony K, he has Melo and Mela behind him as well. So Killer YT with DBS, not the best of weapon in that sort of range. He decided to just back off for now, since he is alone. He doesn't want to take that risk of being knocked in front of his opponents.
Yeah, and over on the side of Gyante, as much as he's got the 8x scope, isn't exactly all too easy to actually catch all these moving targets at the very same time. Vampire eSports actually putting just about enough pressure, but do they spot Chama over onto the valleys, though? I mean, he's over onto the hillside. Hasn't really made his presence felt just about yet, but once he does, then it would further suppress the rest of Vampire eSports.
Both sides at the 50-50 now. I have a feeling that Vampire eSports is not interested to take this fight, but DRS, they're not letting them go. They even position one player on the hilltop. So for Vampire, they don't really have a choice. If they are able to get that one player on top of the hill, then maybe they can find an exit. But then again, it's still pretty tight for Vampire. Looks like this fight is inevitable.
Yeah, it's a gridlock situation. No vehicles thus far. It's Melad actually securing one after a while, as he goes in chasing 8 hordes as Chama. The position has been compromised now. DRS is also pretty much stuck within the city, if so to speak. Unless, of course, Chama just decides to bail out, leave his teammates inside the city, then it's going to be a different story. But
ищете, где заказать мебель на Пхукете? Наша фабрика по производству корпусной мебели находится прямо тут. Используем современные материалы и оборудование. Производим корпусную и мягкую мебель. Вы под ключ от замера до установки. Вам останется только заехать.
มอยเจอไรเซอร์ของ La Roche-Posay สูตร F Care Duo Plus M ทำมาเพื่อคนผิวมันเป็นสิวเลยทุกคนคือใช้แล้วชอบสุดๆนอกจากจะให้ความชุ่มชื้นแล้วเนี่ยสิวยังดูลดลงแล้วก็รอยดำดีขึ้นอย่างเห็นได้ชัดเลยคนเป็นสิวควรลอง
He will be repositioning over onto another side of the lower ground of the hill. So a little bit of prio has been lost from the side of DRS, but that might just be spotted out with Trev once again, swerving all the way past just to ensure that they will keep his position in check. So DRS kind of revealed their location to the rest of VPE, so to speak.
But they're going to say hello to the blue soon, so I don't know how long this fight can continue on. Vampire, at least two of them, managed to find an exit on the left side, but the other two players are still within Primos. No, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to get out of this. And still DRS. They don't want to let them go. They want those points for themselves. And totally understandable, right? If you look at DRS composition, they are number 18. So points that they can get, they will go for it.
Yeah, so what happens here is that looking at Mela, he did manage to pick up another vehicle so that they can actually bail out Tony K as well as Malo. So just like what you said, they are uninterested in just going for that full fight. So with that pickup, they are still leaving Malo behind. So it is definitely a very interesting option. He doesn't really have mats though. So they gotta once again pick him up. They're doing it one after another, so I guess DRS, they will also try to retreat as they found themselves a hug for Kraft in return. So very respectful run coming from both teams.
And here's the blue, 100% on top of them. DRS is still circling around. They want to find the remaining members of Vampire, but Vampire, they managed to escape. Okay. Yeah, they managed to escape. They're on the clear now. They somehow found a way out. So DRS is their time to move it. I'm not sure if they know that Vampire has exited this area though.
Yeah, most likely they would know, so to speak. But for them to really fully commit, I guess like now is the time for them to try to look for whatever other first aids that was unlooted by Vampire eSports. Vampire, I think their next pit stop is going to be around the hospital grounds, which we've seen them play around that area for plenty of times. So going over on the side of Dodak, I think they've met up with some of the members of RRQ just by the corner of shooting range. What will be pretty interesting is to see how these teams actually commit over onto these grounds. But we're once again seeing another circle around Pochinki as well as school.
Yeah, this circle looks familiar, right? It looks like the first round that we have seen today. So far, no eliminations. Oh, there's one elimination, and Vikings, one of the players got eliminated. 7-9 seems to be in a bit of a scuffle here. Two players currently knocked, but they fight back though. And it's going to be Reigns Esports. Okay, they're back in the game, ladies and gentlemen. And with their debut today, they finish off 7-9.
Yeah, that was a really strong start. Taking out the entirety of 7-9, where I'm not really too sure of what's really going on with the Malaysian squad, where we've seen them bow out very, very early throughout these past couple of days. And knowing them, usually they are a very feisty bunch, but going up against Reigns, it is definitely going to be a tough feat, as they're definitely known as some of the best in the world at this point of time. Vampire eSports, we can see that they're still tanking out the zone. Falling very low, I don't think they really have much of these med packs with them. So that is definitely a cause for concern for the Thai squad overall.
Yeah, they didn't really have the chance to truly loot inside of Primos, right? So, yeah. But I'm sure they have a backup plan. They rotated towards the left side, and last we checked, there were not many teams there just because of how the circle shifted. So they could be able to find a good amount of loot while they plan for themselves to get into the circle, which we are at stage 2 and stage 3 will be coming soon. That means they need to come in rather soon, sooner than later. But I wonder where they are now across the map, how far they are. But it's Vampire eSports. I mean, this is a team that is super duper experienced. They know their timing for sure.
Yeah, and especially if they're going to be coming in from the west side, I don't think it's highly populated as compared to the current central zone. So they should have some form of leeway. You can say the same about the rest of Reigns as well after winning out their fight. They're fully restocked. And speaking of which, here comes a challenge right through. It is going to be Grace quickly taken off the list by Pecco as well. So clean stuff coming from RQ, securing the grounds over on the corner of Rozhok, but there's still much more to do up against Boom eSports because they've always been around Rozhok.
Yeah, and Boom eSports, this is their home ground essentially. So they know this place like the back of their hand. It's just a matter of whether teams will want to challenge Boom eSports. But they seem to be leaving there. They're interested in school instead. And heading to school, Talon has secured their position within school itself. While we will observe the next phase of the circle, Boom eSports, they notice that Talon is there. Not interested in the school compound no more. They shifted themselves to the school apartment instead.
Yeah, a lot of all these spacing still available, at least around that school area, which Talon goes on a 2-2 split. Voing Donkey playing the outskirts of Pachinki as they are taking the intersection from the crossroad into school. BTR's could be their friendly neighbor for the time being, so no heavy engagement. We're definitely
Already 5 eliminations dominating. On the elimination feed, we have RRQ and Boom eSports Lapa pretty low, but they managed to finish off Boom eSports without a single casualty on their side. Clean 4 points for RRQ.
Yeah, the Pecco once again really banking up a lot of all these great initiations with the support coming from the side of Salomon, while Pepang getting a little bit more of that region secured for the Potato Hills. Look at the hillside. I believe DRS is pretty close by as we speak of it. Delta having himself that hovercraft as they take the high ground instead. Needs to signify a little bit of warning. He seems to be holding back for this last bit because they don't really have the full intel just yet. I like the colors of both of these logos to be very similar in both red, white, as well as blue. But of course, that aside, DRS, I want to see what do they do with this position.
Yeah, I know, right? Like if you just have a glance, you'll be like, oh, that's the same logo. But okay. Yeah, you have a good look and then, yeah, it's obviously different. But Claw, interesting enough, so they shifted their base from South Asia now to Indonesia, picking up Boboho's team. And Boboho's team is like this comeback team of very, very experienced players. We'll talk about that in a little bit more as DRS. They will start off their round by taking out Tony K from Vampire eSports.
I like that they are actually meeting up once again, and this time DRS got the better end of the trade. Just by rotation itself, the Vampire eSports have already lost 2 of their players, so maybe I should stop predictions, right? Because every single time I vote for somebody, it doesn't seem like it's offering them all too much good luck. But as we speak of it right now, ASI8 draws himself into a fight up against Talon with YK over onto the other corner. Needs to be locked from the side of Casanova, but seems like bodies are hitting the ground right at this moment with the rest of ASI and closing it right through, but there's just layers of smoke for them to be deterred from this push. Look at what the situation. Casanova is closing in, and oh, what a crash! Crypto nails him down.
ASI winning this fight on this hilltop, and now they have secured this hilltop for themselves. Great work there by ASI, not losing a single player. And with this hilltop, this is a very good spot to overlook the school apartment. Without the circle in school apartment, whoever who is in there will be forced to come out. And that's where ASI will have the advantage of securing elimination points.
Great control overall. Claw now sees a little bit more of that resistance while they're also getting attacked. Oh, Bobo! He's got to reposition very quickly. He does have slight covers coming from tree side. Very defensive stance coming in while they're unable to even put a crack on the rest of DRS. Well, we're fighting a El Clasico between RRQ versus BTR. The Indonesian Titans going back and forth, but it is a relatively safe distance between them as they play through some of all these compounds.
Yeah, and so many teams on this potato here, we gotta think about it. Claw and DRS, and also Dora here. Let's see, are they going to continue the fight or are they going to leave this one? Still DRS, they're circling around, they're trying to find the members of Tora or try to gather information at least on where exactly they're at. But we shift forward to FaZe Clan now. FaZe Clan against ASIA with Macarius picking up this nade right in front of him. It's going to be a member of ASIA to potentially knee him down. But he switches to a DBS, and the DBS will gain him that point.
Well, great repositioning as well as great control coming from Macarius in order to save his entirety of his team. And just like that, ASIA kind of crumbled, leaving themselves vulnerable while the rest of Claw, once again, getting pinned by the rest of Chama. This fight is far from over with YT driving in with the hovercraft, running him down with a ton of damage, being rampaging right across. Make that 2 hovercrafts as they don't really need to actually bring the bullets into the fight. And he's going for another rampage, knocking down Bobo Ho.
Who needs weapons if you have the hovercraft, ladies and gentlemen, to fully protect the vehicle? And with that, they're able to take out the players in front of them. Man, that was savage. Claw eSports out at number 13, but they're not out of the fight just yet. Toda right now. Will we reach out against DRS? Getting just out of his vehicle. Good that one knock on Toda.
Yeah, it's running a little slow, which is why YT also has to jump out, only down to a member left on both sides. YT, he's going to be able to once again hop on the hovercraft, secure some beautiful points, repositioning, and once more, they got to dodge all these rampage. And YT, he hops out, but quickly, being definitely super fun to watch DRS in action. They pick up 7 points before bowing out. While we still have this fight erupting between V-Saber and Appleton Riker and BTR on the other side, has been able to contribute into the fight, while Silmon with a beautiful grenade to be able to knock multiple members of the Savior. So down to 2 members, Silmon still holding inside the warehouse, while Nate T tries to flush out Berdinia over onto the other side.
Oh, 3 teams around the same area. Paragon is crawling towards Nate. He should be able to be revived since the smoke is still active. Okay, and he will reach Nate. Okay, the revive will kick in for sure. Now RRQ, they're not taking the proactive approach. They're not willing to leave their warehouse yet. Sends a nade across, but nobody's home.
It is going to be a long tussle. V-Saber now playing a very defensive stance, but I think RRQ has got a hunch of where they're currently hiding out. So those nades make climb across dot. Secures another one for the side of Reigns eSports, while the rest of the members of RRQ has got nowhere else to go, right? You got BTR on the other side of the compounds. Well, you just got to settle scores with DX first, but you don't really have the vision on top, so Pekka's got a lot to do.
Yeah, pretty surrounded now. 4 different teams in the same area. By the way, these area, they just focus on the RRQ for now. And RRQ, Solomon with the nade across, will not connect on the Nate. Paragon cooking up his nade as well, sends it across on the Solomon, knocking him down. This is go time now for D-Xavier. They know that they demand advantage. Napeko is pretty low, 10% of health left. He's trying to heal up. The smoke is buying in time, but from the other side, Napeko knocked down, and looks like D-Xavier, they will take over this warehouse.
Wow, beautiful execution, timely strikes, and now it's only down to Berdinia in order to survive for RRQ. Positioning, only BTR knows for the matter of time, but BTR, they're happy where they're being positioned, which is where they managed to spot out more members inside of Reigns eSports. They don't even get to see because they're all covered in smoke, but that was some magnificent shot.
And now Satar needs to try to show off 9. 9 managed to breach himself into that compound area just in front of Satar. As for Zeta, long range pressure onto Reigns eSports on the other side as well. So many teams still around this warehouse area, including BTR.
It's just a lot of all these space to be claimed. BTR playing a very defensive stance. Very well disciplined as they are just hunkering down with all these 4 members. But take a look at 9. He's slowly lurking upon them as well. Wonder if he's going to be able to impact much, because the last we saw Dodak, they were kind of forced into this position because they were kind of hustled over on the hillside. So they're just holding on defensively while Zeal is going to handle the rest of Odaki. Go for the jump, but it's Zio getting punished instead.
Oh, he had the high guard advantage, but could not make the best out of it because the other members of Void Donkey has arrived. And now it's going to be Refuse, the final player for Reigns eSports. Is he able to blow off a clutch here against Void Donkey? But Void Donkey says no with the nade. into Red First, eliminating Reigns eSports.
Such a clean execution from the rest of Void Donkey. In that position, I was kind of worried for Void Donkey, but because of a little bit of a slip-up coming from the side of Zio, it kind of opens up a lot more space. And also considering the fact that Reigns eSport, that position to hold out isn't exactly the safest because you're vulnerable to BTR, you're also vulnerable to Void Donkey at the same time. They were forced for a fight. Berninia, he finds one in return, getting clipped over onto Paragin, secures it very swiftly. Now, down to Nate T, 1v1.
Here comes the SLK. Let's see who will win this one. It's going to be SLK versus SLK. And Virginia tries to get Nate dancing around. None of those shots connected. And finally it is Nate with the patience. He managed to secure that win against RRQ.
Clean stuff, and RRQ they leads back 6 points. So, well, I would say that it is a decent effort coming in from RQ moving into this matchup here inside Wrangle. FaZe Clan finally shows themselves. They did manage to out-trade many of the teams over on the Potato Hill, and now move their way back onto the warehouse sector where this current circle is favoring BTR. So they got a lot of work to do in order to secure some of all these vantage points. AST now takes over the warehouse, so Nate T's kind of having a problem of his own.
5 eliminations, 6 points collected by Toda in this round. Now it's going to be Nate against Tribe Arrow Messi against the world with Zio. Either low, knocked down by Nate with the rest of K.
Yeah, very clean take. Well, they are still trying to get a little bit more room. Nate, he knows that he has defended all by himself. So he's just circling around from the top floor as well as the ground floor. He expects Nace to be hurled over on his corner, but he's got ideas of his own as he tries to also prime one towards the side of Venom. Now they're charging right in. 3 versus 1. Barely holding on as Venom makes quick work out of that situation.
That is the end of the Xavier, number 7 with 4 elimination points. BTR, they have company on their own with Void Donkey crashing in. And again, what brings everyone to this compound? It's just that the circle will win, but that doesn't matter right now. What matters is that BTR will need to defend their ground against Void Donkey, and BTR lost 3 players so far. Now it's down to only Satar.
Yeah, it was not really the best of defensive hold coming from the rest of BTR. They weren't expecting Void Donkey to be so aggressive on his charge, already on that dominating streak. Only a few members still trying to lick their wins at this moment. BTR not even going for the revive with the pressure coming in from the side of the Vikings. Striking over onto these corners. Everybody wants to compound like you said, and it seems like Bunty is just ready to shut out Satar. That is the rest of BTR out of the match.
Well, looks like a good call because the circle is still at this compound. Here comes FaZe Clan onto Vikings. FaZe Clan as a 4 Vikings. They not only have FaZe Clan, but they also have Void Donkey on the other side as well. Now Vikings, they are sandwiched between 2 different teams, and also Tribal Messi across the road. Knocking Wunti down, leaving only Superman alone, and Superman found his kryptonite, eliminated at number 5.
Yeah, love the way that you put it right now. FaZe Clan has the biggest squad strength. They arrived in the nick of time to really weaken the side of MVKE. And now, we might just be able to also put up a challenge up against EST over onto the 4 corners. Red Bull now striking down Axel. That is going to be Talon. No points gained, but they at least secured themselves a couple of points coming in from the placements. Void Donkey still holds a threat. So down to Makaris. Can he spot out Potato on that corner wall?
Ooh. Potato's on the outer side. So Macarius is able to position himself by the edge. He's super Potato. That could be anytime soon that he pulls the trigger. And yes, he will. Potato will be knocked down. Finished off by Macarius immediately. Now leaving Void Donkey with only 2 players left. While Tribal Messi, they're just monitoring the situation on the other side of the road. If they see an opportunity, they will shoot. If not, they'll just let them cancel each other, let them fight, and come in later.
FaZe Clan is absolutely on a roll. 10 points already being secured by a majority of their members. Yui this time takes a little bit more of a backseat, being a little bit more supportive for the team. So they definitely get to dictate who actually gets to have free reigns between this fork road, because they're pretty much split 2 by 2 to watch over both AST as well as Void Donkey. You can see the rest of Trap RMC, they just want to ensure that they actually get a little bit more of a party all about that zone shift right now within the 5 seconds. Who exactly does it favor?
Yeah, we still have stage 8. And looks like it favors the compound where FaZe Clan and Void Donkey is at. Tri-Barrel Messi will need to move forward. As long as FaZe Clan and Void Donkey, they don't start to shoot at each other, both of them focus on the Tri-Barrel Messi, then they would have an advantage against them, and it will be difficult for Tri-Barrel Messi, obviously. So now the call is for Tri-Barrel Messi. When will they want to make that move?
I hope that they do have just about enough smokes to be able to form a little bit more of a bridge for them to cut across. But they got Point Donkey as well as the rest of FaZe Clan to be able to stare them down. So tough task. Strix on the other corner will have to maybe breach right through in order to start a little bit more of a challenge up against the rest of the members of Point Donkey. Speaking of which, they have already formed a layer of fog just in order to cut right through. And just like that, they are trying to loop breach right in. But Zeta, he gets the god angles. He'll be instead shut down by Red Bull.
3-way war now, ladies and gentlemen, with FaZe Clan having the upper hand so far. 10 elimination points for FaZe Clan. As Tri-Barrel Messi, they will rush through. But Venom is pretty low. He does have the first aid for himself to kill up. Razak taken out. So it's now down to 2 teams. FaZe Clan with the numbers advantage. They rush in. Macaris gets a knock on the Venom.
Crazy fights as we see FaZe Clan triumph with a massive haul of points just by having the superior position. They fought tooth and nail throughout the Potato Hills. A successful run moving into this particular match. So to speak, Macaris though leading the fray very strongly together alongside with Red Bull, who's always been super proactive. So that is a total of 14 eliminations. So in total, that's 24 points for FaZe Clan.
Wait, look at this damage by Macaris, the original member of FaZe Clan 2.0, 1,038 damage output, a